Welcome everybody for my segment 2. I'm thankful to be joined by Big Jeff, Dr. Silkman, Hallie C, Ron, and our dog trainer expertise, Ness.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. Nice to be
Hi,
here.
everyone.
Well, thank you for joining us, and I just would like you to introduce yourself and your background and everything.
My pseudonym is Ness. I work in the southwestern part of the United States, and I worked for many years training cadaver dogs with my godfather, and we specialized in experimental cadaver dogs that could handle the arid desert climate, coyote dog, hybrids, different breeds, things like that. And, but yeah, we had some of the most successful cadaver dogs in the country.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, Ness, you obviously have to manage specific kinds of environments and that sort of thing. So what sort of dogs did you use?
We were trying to develop dogs for the desert area. Bloodhounds are great dogs, but they are very delicate dogs. They cannot handle the heat, just the arid climate that we're in, and it's hard to keep a scent trail in the desert. A scent trail is, basically human cells that cling to plants and places, and it's very easy to lose that in the desert. So that was our main goal. And we...
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and you were only focused on cadaver dogs as opposed to the dogs that would look for live humans?
Yeah, pretty much. My godfather, he did DEA dogs as a side project, but that wasn't what we worked on together. That's what he worked on in Washington State. He would go a couple months a year, but what we worked on were desert dogs. So
right, okay.
Breeding and training and trying to find the right mix of durability and reliability and ability to smell out there. It's a very different environment than most places in the world.
And did you work with law enforcement?
Yes, we did come in with law enforcement when they suspected they had a body. And our work was basically after hope was lost is when we came in. And we had an excellent record of finding bodies. And we did most of what we did was privately contracted or just done out of charity to help migrants whose families had crossed and didn't make it, get their remains back to them. That's what we did. My godfather passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in January of 2016. I got sick very soon after that. So I still have agents that have my dogs and I still consult on it, but I can no longer work. So.
Yeah. Okay. And so was that a family business?
Well, we weren't family, but we might as well have been.
Yeah.
But I I had my sons and I never brought them into that because I did not want them to see
Mhm.
the stuff that we saw. And it could be dangerous at times. We crossed paths with a lot of narco smugglers
Mhm.
out in the desert.
Right.
And you don't know anything about this case, correct?
I don't know
You just know
anything.
about the few things we went over last night.
That's all I know. I
I want
have
to revisit what I was asking you because
okay.
it was involving the scent dogs. I know you're familiar with cadaver dogs, but in any of your situations, any of the cases you were involved in, were you ever stopped from going past a crime scene area when you're searching for someone?
We were only when it was a safety risk to us. Like I gave you the example of House Canyon. There are places there where the ground will give way, or it was near an Indian reservation where we needed a federal warrant, or if it was across the border into Mexico. And sometimes the border was not easily defined. There's no real line in the sand.
Mm.
All right. Now, in
yeah.
this case, the dogs were brought in, the scent dogs were brought in on the 7th. They were requested her shoes for the article to be tracking her. And they were, if you can see on the screen, they were focusing on the berm area and they ended up at this dead end over here called Cuss Road. It had been taped off because there was something suspicious found there. And they would not let the dogs go in there. And the dog was on an intense track. They then send the dogs away and bring them back later and then let them in. There's no danger to the dogs. There's no danger to the handlers. Why would they prevent them from doing their job?
I can't imagine any reason aside from a warrant, but no, I don't see a reason that they would keep the dogs out. If they had permission from the landowners and they were on an intense scent, I don't understand why they wouldn't let them follow it to the conclusion.
Because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And we really don't know.
Can I ask a question?
Why? Go for it.
So, what if you were interested in modifying a scene in such a way, so that you'd spoil the ability of a cadaver dog to be able to detect anything? Is that possible? If you buried a body, or a body was buried, and you didn't want anybody to figure out that there was a body buried there, could you remove the body? Could you put something in the soil that would throw off the dog away from that scent? How could you sort of foil a cadaver dog?
Is that possible?
Not possible.
Back in.
That's not possible. Even if you move the body, the dog is going to hit on where the body is. Unless, there are like torrential rains, and I'm talking like Hurricane Katrina type rains. No,
Right.
The dog's going to continue to hit on that, where the body was.
What about, so the dog will hit on where the body was and where the body is. What about, could the dog hit on whoever has moved the body or body parts?
That can be showered off. That can be washed off, but the dog would probably still be able to hit on it. I don't think it's something that's easily washed off. But I think you would be opening yourself up to definitely being hit on by the dogs.
Really? Being hit on by the dogs?
Yes.
Can't say that's ever happened to me in the club, but yeah. Anyway, that might be my next dating foray. I better tell Chino about that. I'm getting a glare from the couch. my other question around that is somewhere I read, and I don't know whether to. Chino's come to visit me now. He's just making sure that I'm safe. Somewhere I read that actually a cadaver dog can still hit on clothes that have actually been through the washing machine several times.
Yes, I've heard that too. I've never seen that happen, but they are extremely sensitive dogs. And to give you an idea of how sensitive it is, when we get testing material for the dogs for them to find, it's like a washcloth that they lay on the cadaver's chest and they send it to us. It's not soaked in anything. It's just that's it. And they can hit on the box that those came in for several months after. And they know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty full on.
Yeah.
Well, in your experience, what would you say the false alarm probability is of a well-trained dog?
In my experience, and I've never actually experienced this, but talking to other dog handlers, the only real false alarm that we get could be from pigs. That decomposing pigs have a very close scent to a decomposing human. But
is it true that there's some type of foliage that also would mimic the scent of a corpse too?
Not to my knowledge.
I believe I read that somewhere.
Do you mean
not that it would mimic, it would help cover up?
Yes. You're talking about peat moss?
Yes, peat moss. Exactly.
I've heard various urban legends about how to beat the dogs. Some people say celery seed oil. Some people say coffee beans.
There was a case in Ohio where same scenario, the dogs hit on a burn barrel on the neighbor's property, and their daughter went up missing. They suspected that it was the neighbor the whole time, took him to trial. It was acquitted. Come to find out, it was actually the guy's brother that killed his daughter. The neighbor almost went to prison for nothing. This is a Stephen Avery case all over, except for the right thing happened.
I don't know where we work. There's no peat moss. Where we work is very arid. We have mesquite, we have creosote, and that's about it. That's what makes our dogs. That's why we have to adapt our dogs. It's very, very different than any other place in the country. You know, we work in Death Valley. We work, the Grand Canyon area. There's not going to be any peat moss.
Yeah, I know.
Around there, but it's something I could look into and ask other dog people, but that's something I haven't heard before.
That would be really good. I'd be really interested to know.
I'd love to know that answer.
We're really interested to know if they did beat the dogs, like what sort of mechanism they might have used. I mean, I think we're just kind of interested to know what the boundaries of the dog's capabilities are. And it seems like the dogs are pretty robust.
Yes.
That's my sense.
Another thing I wanted to talk about in the dispatch calls I have from the case, the sheriff requests that they call in some new search dogs because the dogs are getting tired. And what you explained to me that the dogs love to do this.
This is a game for the dogs. This is not work for them. They live for this. They live to get their squeaky or their petty or their reward, whatever it is. They're very excited when they get to work. They don't understand. I mean, they're dogs. They don't understand that they're trying to find a dead body and it's grim work.
And
the only The only other thing that I've heard from that was at Ground Zero when when they were using the dogs to find live people. The
Mhm.
dogs actually got depressed because they weren't finding anybody. And
Oh,
this
Mm.
these were sniffer dogs. These were looking for live people. So
Yeah.
they had to hide. Firemen hid in the rubble so the dogs could find them and not be depressed.
She.
But
oh,
that's the
Oh,
only
wow.
case I've ever heard of.
that's
Crazy.
And
That's
those
kind
were
of
very
sweet.
different.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
That's quite amazing, though.
yeah.
Forgot my next question.
Millbilly, am I allowed to ask a
Well,
question?
I have. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Silkman.
What are Ness? What are some of the things that can cause false positive and false negative reactions in a dog? You know, they give a false hit.
Like I said, if maybe there was someone who died there before, but aside from that, I've only heard of pig
Excuse me
parts
one moment.
being
And pigs.
able to mimic a human dead body.
Right. Very
So.
interesting. And Millbilly, I
Dr.
take
Silkman,
it there
you're not
was.
thinking of a certain special prosecutor, are you?
Well, I was just thinking about Cuss Road. You know,
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask Millbilly. They didn't find any pigs down at Cuss Road, did they?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
I had another question as well.
Sorry.
What are, in your opinion, what are the chances that a cadaver dog would hit on something one day, or not hit on something one day, and then go ahead and hit on something that hit on a same area the next day?
Yeah, they would hit on it from one
In other
day
words,
to
day one
another.
they don't hit on it. Day two they do.
To me, that would mean that somebody
that seems to be the case that happened here, right, Millbilly?
that would
Go ahead.
Dog.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
that would mean to me that somebody had moved the body, and if they hit on one thing one day and something else the other one, somebody moved that body, or somebody touched that body, or something that was on that body and moved to the second site they hit on.
This brings to my other question. Now, if you were to take a body from a location, place it in a vehicle, and then drive away slowly through a terrain that you have to drive through, how long would that scent be traced?
It depends on a lot of factors, the weather, the foliage, but from what I've seen, it's a very green area. There's a lot of grass. It would last a few days at least, and as long as it wasn't a highway where
Now, let's say that there was a body sitting somewhere and then it was moved. Would the dog be more focused on where the body was, or where it was moved to now? Because it'd be following the strongest source, correct?
Yes, it would, but it would, when a body rests somewhere, it puts out more gases, and the dog will hit harder on a place a body has rested than where a body was moved, but it will still follow the trail.
Yeah.
There's
Ness, would that be attributable to the degree of response from a dog, like a high alert as opposed to just a sort of like a casual type of interest? Would that be dependent on the amount of scent per se?
I would say so, yeah. The dogs get very excited when they come across a large, indentation from what I've seen of where a body was and where it's moved. For instance, what we do, we have the arid areas, we don't have the grass, but say they will get very excited when they find clothes and things under creosote bush And they will get even more excited and follow the trail when they find bones that have been pulled into a coyote den or a badger den or something like that. So, because there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of animal predation where we're at, and they move the bodies quite often.
All right. Another question I asked yesterday was pertaining to the scent dogs. I know you're mostly cadaver, but if somebody took somebody's shoes that they're going to use for scent tracking and somebody wore them shoes and then walked an area and then they brought the dogs in to search that area, would it be tracking more likely the person's whose shoes they were or the person's who was wearing them at the time?
Well, they don't track the shoes. They track skin cells
Yeah,
that
I know. So
were.
it wouldn't make a difference.
No, they would be tracking the skin cells of the person they're looking for. They're not going to be looking for the person in the shoes. Especially one day to the next, if you know, they need an item to hit on, and if you change it up the next day, I think they're smarter than people give them credit for. They're not gonna.
Because the scent dog loof, it's trying to go to where it's on an intense track, and they don't let the dog in. They send it away, and then it comes in, and then dogs make alerts like something's not right anymore.
How do you mean by alerts that something's not right? That something's been
Ron,
moved,
can I
or
explain what I'm trying to say happened? You probably do it better.
Sorry, I'm just a bit distracted by the chat. Do you mean that? Are you talking about when the cadaver dogs say that the scent of the dead body is no longer there?
Yeah.
Yep. So they alert on an area, then they're taken away, and then they come back and they no longer alert there. So I'm presuming that they've removed enough material that the dog doesn't alert there. Alternatively, they have removed something from that area, and I presume it's something like a tarp that the dogs were hitting on. They were definitely hitting on a shovel.
Now,
no doubt.
If somebody was placed in a tarp and laid on the ground, and then they didn't actually touch the ground, and then they just moved that with her in it still.
Yeah, that would definitely do it. If there's something between the body and the ground, like a tarp, definitely.
Or a blanket.
Yeah, then that would be. That would really take down the scent that the dog was looking for.
So we know that we have a report that says that the hole was lined with plastic. So we have that much in a report. We know nothing else about it apart from that the hole was lined with plastic and there was some remind me, Russian wood or something like that.
There was
a tree stump.
Yeah.
Who buried
a tree stump? But I think there also was a wooden pallet.
In plastic.
Yes.
Yes.
And plastic.
I thought there was wooden in there somewhere.
Yes, a pallet.
Yep.
And I think they found bags with that said peat moss.
My final question. Out of all the cases you've ever done, have you ever heard of them finding a body and not taking photos or any kind of evidence of discovery?
No.
Whether it be a bones or a body?
No. There's absolutely the first thing you do is take photos. That's
the first thing you do would be call a coroner, correct?
Yes. Well,
you wouldn't bar the coroner from doing their job, would you?
No.
Oh, don't put words in her mouth. Come on.
I would say a lot of the cases we do are illegal immigrants, and the coroners aren't interested. So and that's unfortunate. But yeah, we do take pictures.
And the dogs would not hit on cremains, correct?
No.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep. So I've got.
That's an interesting question that came up yesterday. By the way, if I could finish it,
I was just actually
there's a
going
case
to
where there was.
Go ahead, Ron.
I was just going to say, for anyone that actually missed our little introduction, because I know a number of people probably came just a fraction late, Ness actually did an interview with us yesterday, and then the audio was very, very difficult to hear yesterday. So Ness has really kindly offered to come back, and she's really, really unwell at the moment. So we're incredibly grateful to her, and I'm pretty sure she's actually still in hospital. So we are incredibly grateful to her, and we're actually asking a lot of the same questions that we asked yesterday. So when we keep saying, oh yeah, like we said yesterday and like we asked yesterday, that's why, because we actually did very similar sort of discussion yesterday. I just wanted to clarify that for anyone that wasn't on yesterday's discussion. Go for it, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Bron. So my question is that there is a one particular bone in question in this case that we often refer to as item BZ, for which there was enough biological material for which a DNA sample is able to be partially extracted. Would that would that represent enough biological material for a cadaver dog to hit on? If you could still just draw DNA from it?
I don't know, because DNA has gotten so much further than it ever has before. I've seen them extract DNA from such minute traces. I think the dog would still hit on it, but honestly, I couldn't say. I recently saw a case where they used a rock from a murder 20 some odd years before, and they were able to extract DNA, and there's no way a dog would have hit on that 20 years later. But we're not talking 20 years here. So I would assume the dog would be able to get a cadaver profile from that.
Yeah, but remember, Big Jeff.
And this is 2005, too.
The problem, Big Jeff, though, was bear. That was their excuse, bear. That's why the dog couldn't get close enough to the burn.
That's a great question to ask her.
Have you ever? BZ was a Michael's Quarren.
Would another dog hamper your dog from doing their job?
No. The dogs are very focused. You know, if they're a puppy, we don't take puppies out on important cases. You know, these dogs are focused. They want their toy. This is a big game to them, and there's really they're not gonna give up easily. You know, I've had to pull my dogs away when we've seen cougars or bobcats, you know, things like that, or snakes, because they want to keep playing, and they don't realize that, you know, we're in danger there.
Yeah.
So,
and yesterday we talked a little bit about the different breeds that you use. Did we talk about that today? I'm sorry, I've lost a bit of the thread of the conversation today.
I did mention that, you know, most people use German Shepherds and Bloodhounds, and you know, they're great dogs, but they're not robust enough for desert searches, and they need foliage, and they need things that the scent, the skin cells will cling to. We're looking for more robust dogs that can catch a scent off creosote or mesquite, or where there's nothing there. It's just rocks and sand. It's very arid.
Yeah, right. Okay. And one of the times that Ness and I first met, actually, was we were talking about dingoes, weren't we? Because you were pretty keen to try a dingo crossbreed.
Yeah,
we were talking about that.
yeah.
Which I would happily have stolen you one if I thought I could have gotten away with it.
A
But
dingo. A dingo.
Yeah.
Oh,
a
Lord.
dingo pup. Imagine me smuggling a dingo pup to New Mexico. Yeah, maybe not.
You never come back, Bron.
Yeah, probably not.
Hey, Ness,
Probably not.
if you don't mind, let's say if you were someone, if you moved into the home of someone deceased, possibly slept in their bed or just lived there for a few days and walked around in a scene, would that scent, would it transfer to you of the person who's missing, or presumably not a
that would
cadaver
be.
smell, but just a scent smell?
My dogs would only hit on cadaver smells. They only go after the scent of decomposition. And we talked about this yesterday. Like, if you had a cut on you, the dogs would not go after the blood. They would go after the scent of decomposition, which is the microorganisms begin as soon as you die, eating your digestive tract, and that is the scent that the dogs go after.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you want me
basically
to pull up our? Yeah, did you want me to pull up our conversation from yesterday, Ness, where you told me in great detail about how the flies would go up my nose and all of that before they would go for
the cut? Yeah, sorry, but botflies find a human body within 15 minutes of death, and they go in the mouth and nose first, because that is where the bacteria is breaking down the body. And that is the same for the cadaver dogs. They are looking for the scent of decomposition.
About how long does it take for those to get to the body and maybe leave pupil casings?
It takes them 15 minutes or less for a botfly to find a body and begin to lay eggs in the nose. That'll be usually the first insect activity they find is the maggots in the nose.
Interesting. And so I know you don't do a lot with scent dogs, but I know we have some people, and that's, I'm curious, a lot of people are curious, just for scent, transfer scent, say you have 100 people walking through your home and then you're walking through the crime scene. Do you think it would, a scent dog would be able to pick up the missing person's scent from just people walking around in your home?
No, I don't think it would contaminate the crime. That dog's going to be focused on one thing and one thing only. And they can differentiate through millions of scents better than we can. It's hard to explain, but their noses are just so much more sophisticated than anything we have.
I think the question there is not so much about false alarm, but false detection, right? Is it possible that if you're tromping through the crime scene, you actually pick up the scent of the person whose house it is? You go to their house, and then you go to the potential crime scene. Can you falsely contaminate the crime scene with the scent of the person there, such that you start to create false tracks?
It would be very difficult. It's for scent dogs, it's shed skin cells, and you would get them on you maybe if you were sitting on their couch or rolling around in their bed, but it would not be near the concentration that we're shedding skin cells every minute of our lives, and it would be very difficult to find the concentrations that you find on the person themselves.
Right. Which when we're looking at this particular potential crime scene, Stephen Avery's bedroom trailer would have been should have given a massive hit. If you're talking about detecting skin cells, it should have been a massive hit.
Yes, if she had been there, it definitely would have been a massive hit. I would think. This is an assumption now because I don't do scent dogs, but as far as I know, and from what I know, yeah, that would be very difficult to.
Yeah, should have lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And no matter how good you were with the vacuum cleaner, it's just about and to do the experiment, all you do is you take a clean vacuum cleaner bag and vacuum clean your mattress. You'll be horrified what you find. It's
My dog were.
huge amount of skin.
The average mattress gains 45 pounds of skin cells, just dead skin cells, over its 10-year lifespan. Something close to that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. You're a mine of beautiful information.
Us molecular biologists, we love all that stuff.
Now, Ness, yesterday we talked quite a lot about the blood, and we've touched on it a little bit. Why the dogs wouldn't hit on a live person's blood, but I just want to clarify that again. That if someone's blood was spilt somewhere in the previous week, that a cadaver dog would not hit on that.
No.
So
No.
what is Brutus hitting on?
Well, there wasn't actually there was an alert, but no scent source identified.
Right.
So, and it was a bathroom and laundry.
Yeah.
I've heard that toenail clippings would cause a scent for a cadaver dog to hit on. Is that true?
Yes. It wouldn't be very much, but yes, they would.
What about a shaver? That'll be scraping off skin cells.
Yes. Anything
and also
that
a
would
toothbrush.
accumulate. Yeah, a toothbrush would too. A
Hang on.
toothbrush.
Hang on. Are we talking scent or cadaver now?
It's cadaver because these are dead skin cells.
From shaving and also from a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Good. Good to clarify.
And that's exactly what you find in Stephen Avery's in the bathroom. There's a shaver and there's also a toothbrush. And that's going to have heaps of epithelial cells, skin cells. It'll be a gold mine. It'll be also a good place to swab as well.
They'll be decomposing cells. Sorry, Bron.
Correct.
I'm in the wrong business, clearly.
Well, I know
What
that
about
go ahead.
So what about if somebody were shot in the head, for example, in a garage with a micro spray that you get from that? Would that be a sufficient, even if the body were no longer there or the body were quickly removed from that? Would that be would that be something that the dog would hit on afterwards?
No, they don't hit on blood.
What about brain tissue or something like that?
If it were
when the bullet goes out,
enough,
lots of stuff.
the primary source for cadaver dogs is the digestive tract. That's why shaving around your mouth and your toothbrush would be something they would hit on. I've never seen a dog hit on blood or brain matter, a cadaver dog. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely. I think it would be from the immediate beginning of the decomposition of the body.
So if someone had cut a body up and actually gutted them and took their organs out, would it hit on the organs?
Well, as soon as you die, the little bacteria in your body they begin to eat you, and they put out gases, and this is almost an immediate process. And what they hit on are those gases, and those gases are going to cling to everything around that body. They're going to be on the knife, they're going to be in that room, they're going to be everywhere. And if you've got a body, it's going to be, you're going to be spreading them even further than if they were contained in the body.
How long does it typically take to train a dog?
Depends on the breed. Ours 2 to 3 years. Prime of a dog, you want to get them trained young, but not so young that they get distracted easily. But that they're just like humans. The older they get, the sense of smell goes, and you want to keep them fairly young, but not so young that they get distracted. You don't want puppies. I would say 3 to 5 years would be ideal for a dog. Ours didn't last that long because of breeding, but
how long does a dog typically work for?
Once again, it really depends on the breed. I understand that German Shepherds, and I've actually never worked with German Shepherds, can work into the double digits of their age. Bloodhounds a lot less. The dogs we were working with, less than that. So.
Got a question here, and if I've missed someone's question, can you please retype it? I'm sorry, it's really hard to follow all the chat. And I'm sorry if you're asking someone else in the chat, and I'm asking Ness, I apologise. If the killer had carried the body wearing his jacket and then wore the jacket to plant victim's stuff on the property, would the dogs hit on the planter's path?
They might, but they would more than likely follow the body more so than the jacket. I mean, they could create a false path, but they're going to be going after the body more so.
So the cadaver dog, if the killer had carried the body, so you're saying that this person has had contact with the body both alive and dead.
Yeah.
So if the person was wearing the jacket at the time the cadaver dog was on site, we should expect to see the cadaver dog hitting on that person. Firstly,
unless there is a much greater scent path for that dog. That dog's not really going to notice the jacket if there is like a dragging of the body through there. That dog's going to be after the body, not the jacket. If the jacket is somewhere else where the body hasn't been, then yeah, the dog's going to hit on the jacket, but that dog is going to be hot on that body.
Jamie.
Yes. Okay, cool. All right. Doesn't look like I've missed any, I don't think. Okay. I also asked you a question yesterday about if a dog, a cadaver dog, was to scratch at a door, would you ask for it to be opened?
Yes.
So that would be pretty standard?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. If a cadaver dog alerted at a door and, quote, wanted to get in, or gave some indication of wanting to get in, about what distance in might you expect a scent source to be?
Anywhere in the house. Anywhere. So inside, not on the door, for example. It might be on the door frame if the body scraped the door frame, but no, anywhere in the house, the body might have been. Yeah. And the dog's going to be able to differentiate between like old dead skin cells and fresh decomp. So, but definitely if my dog's alerted at a door, I would assume the body was there at one point, or might even still be there, buried under the house or something in the attic maybe. But
And we also asked you yesterday about Chuck's son had died in a car accident. I think I looked it up tonight, and it was 6 years previously. It was 1999. And I asked you whether that would be, whether a cadaver dog might be hitting on something inside belonging to his son during the accident or something like that.
no. I was telling yesterday, my dad, he died in my house. He had a brain aneurysm and he fell, and the curtains fell on him. And the EMTs took him out. And I'd been thinking about it today, and it was 4 years later when I started training cadaver dogs, and they had never hit in that room, never hit those curtains, never hit the floor, never hit anything. So it was 4 years later, and they never ever had a hit.
I'm sure that some. Oh, okay. So Jamie asked approximate distance that a cadaver dog might be able to smell a scent, and obviously it's variable. And I've got a brilliant article and a really, really good graphic that I can. Well, no doubt you're going to see it because it's on my screen at the moment, so it will come up at some point. That a dog sniffs 5 times a second and gets a fresh air with every sniff.
Yes. They are constantly rebooting their nose, basically. It's very, that's how they're able to keep a trail. Is the trail will fade as time goes, but it's constantly looking for that scent. It's completely focused on it. It's
But would a dog like that be able to compare concentrations of a scent? Because it's sampling its environment rapidly, it must be very sensitive to changes or alterations in concentrations of a scent, and can go to a particular path or directions based on what it's sensing, because it must be very, very quick. If it's sampling its environment so quickly, it can adjust and go towards a source, especially if it's more concentrated. Would that be accurate?
yes,
Okay.
that would be absolutely. And it's always going to go towards the main source of the scent. It's always going to be trying to find the decomp smell, and that's going to be where the body is and what it's looking for.
So areas of an intense hit could potentially represent that the human body was placed there for a while, and hence you get a concentration of the gases, of the decomposition.
Well,
because
think about it. Travis has a question about the gas lighter than air. You gotta think about when wild animals, they smell a wounded animal, they'll track it. Like bears, their scent is so strong they can feel a carcass from miles and miles away.
Yes. Cadaver dogs, that's why we use them when we're out on the border trying to find these bodies.
There's been time I was deer hunting. This is probably when I was like 16, and my buddy shot the deer, and we waited a while for it to make sure it was dead. It ran off, and we started tracking it, and the bear found it first.
That's right.
Turned around and went the other way. His deer now, not ours.
Yeah.
So I know some dogs would most likely be cross-trained for water, for higher altitudes,
Yeah.
but if they're trained for blood, and some are just trained for blood, they would maybe either smell live or dead blood. Are you familiar with the Madeleine McCann case of the little?
I am.
And so, what were the dogs? We had a question. What were the dogs hitting on in that case? And then, what have you ever testified for the state, or what testified in cases have you done?
I have testified in cases before.
I did
And
say I was going to ask you to talk about your other job as well. Sorry, I forgot to ask you.
That's okay. I own a bail bond agency and a private security company, and we do expert testimony. We do private investigations. We do bodyguarding services. We do fugitive recovery. We do civilian recovery. We do a lot of different things. We have a lot of different agents. As far as the Madeleine McCann case, I believe the dog was hitting on blood. It's been a while since I've seen it and read about it, but all blood is dead. There's no differentiation between live blood and dead blood. It's all the same. And that dog was hitting on blood.
So it all comes down to how the dogs are trained.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So hang on. So what we were talking about just before, is anyone else confused, or is it just me because I was only half listening?
About the blood.
For the blood.
Yes.
I'm a little confused.
Because before we were talking about how blood from a person who's alive won't react.
No, if it's a blood dog, I believe. I don't work with blood dogs.
Sorry.
It depends on how the dogs are trained. Their expertise is.
Okay. Sorry. Yep. Got you.
Was there a question posed to me because I missed it?
No, that's okay. I was confused. That was my fault. I haven't got any more questions, and I don't think there was any left from yesterday, unless anyone else. Hang on. I thought there is a difference between live blood and dead blood. T1 wants to ask, can a canine track a pap smear? Now, yesterday, okay, admittedly.
That's a new one on me.
Okay, yesterday, can I just say for this, I'm going to preface this comment by saying that the live yesterday for me was between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And we started talking about Teresa's vibrator.
Oh, no.
And why wasn't that used as a scent source? Well, and that the dogs may have liked that. But maybe we'll just leave it there. But
Who came up with that one? T1?
That was actually me. That was me, actually.
Ron.
One strand.
If you're asking me whether a dog can discern between maybe menstrual blood and regular
no, we're actually
asking blood, I don't know.
No, the question actually is, can they hit on a pap smear? Because we know there was a pap smear in this case with it had a partial DNA profile. So we know that there was one.
I don't know. I will be perfectly honest. That is nothing that's ever came up before.
We can claim a new question. Who's that? That wasn't mine. That was not my dog.
I
It's mine. There's something outside. She's
No one's
barking at it.
owning up to it.
It was Big Jeff.
All right. Are you guys done with questions?
I think so.
Move on to the documents.
Okay. So we're just going to. Can you switch to my screen, please, Millbilly?
Yep.
I fixed it so that it's the other screen. So we thought we'd just briefly summarise what we went over yesterday for anyone that wasn't on. And that's the dog's nose there for everyone's watching pleasure. Excuse me. This is the records request and response that I did for some new reports. I'm just going to show you first the reason why I did these. Right, here we go. Oh, double. That really has come up double, hasn't it? Oh, well, we can see it. The original dog report that we had was Exhibit 46, and it had a front cover, then it had Track 3, which was written by Sarah Fausk, and then it had 5 pages of narrative, which was the cadaver dogs, and that was it. So it was 8 pages long, and you can see that over here. It's got 8 pages here. The front cover actually belonged to the training resume of Sarah Fausk and Canine Loof. Track 3 belonged to a 23-page document called the Bloodhound Tracks, which was received last year around October-ish. And then the 5 pages of narrative belonged to a 15-page document, which included a front page, an introduction, timeline, a roster, those 5 pages, and 6 pages of maps. So there was actually quite a lot missing from even the cadaver dog stuff, which has actually been quite helpful. So some of the, particularly when we were trying to guess where alerts might be, some of them, particularly when we're looking at that berm between Stephen Avery's and Redant's gravel pit, the alerts aren't quite where we thought that they might have been. And so it's been quite good to see that. The other document which has been very hidden has been this narrative report by Michelle Metzner, 3 pages. And then there was this next report by Jodie Disher with Canine Letter and Certificates, that was called. All of those things were from, you might remember this document here for people that have been around for a little while. This was, it was very early on. I think this was the first of the discovery documents sent. So it was actually quite early on. So this is the training resume I was talking about. The Bloodhound Tracks are the ones that we got. And so A to E are all dog reports. So then further on, there's another document. Now, this one was included in Kathleen Zellner's motion a lot more recently. And there was the training resume, Jodie Disher, Canine Letter and Certificates, and a Canine Emergency Response Team's search narrative written there. And you can see that's 32 pages long. So it was quite interesting to see that that was there. So I applied for the Canine Unit Emergency Operations Procedure Manual, and that was the GLSAR training manual. The full GLSAR report, and you can see everything in red is what I got. Michelle Metzner's narrative report, and I'll come back to that one. The training resume of Sarah Fauskin Canine Loof, Jodie Disher Canine Letter and Certificates, the Canine Emergency Response Team's search narrative, and any other documents, reports or written documents relating to the dogs utilised by law enforcement in this investigation. I know that there was a certificate of Brutus that was tendered to the court during Stephen's original trial, and they didn't send that, which means there is something that is in the file that they didn't send, even though it pertains to the dogs. I'm not sure whether I would expect them to do that or not, but I did request them. So what they didn't do that I did request, and I'm trying to follow up with Kathleen Zellner at the moment, is that it's this narrative report. That's better. So there's this 3-page narrative report by Michelle Metzner dated the 6th of the 11th. And then there's this Canine Emergency Response Team's search narrative dated 11th of the 6th. I think I said that round the other way because that's how we say it in Australia. So I automatically switch it. One is 3 pages, one is 32 pages. The first one I was sent 3 pages, and that included 2 pages of narrative and 1 of maps. Number 6 here, I was sent the 2 pages of narrative. If you look at the actual report, the narrative pertains to the 6th of November. But when you actually look at the map, I might get that right now, and I'll pull it up so that we can actually have a quick look at it. We read through this last night. So you can see that the date, is the date even on here? Yeah, it is. So the search narrative here is the 11th of the 6th. And it just talks about 1 day. It says that the report was compiled with from a number of reports submitted by the different handlers, and there were quite a few handlers. There was also 2 other groups that were working underneath them. This is a water group, and this one is more of a technical group, and Michelle Metzner's husband is involved in this second group. So there were actually 3 groups all operating together, but under Canine Search and Rescue. And this is the map. It's a great map, as you can see, really informative. And it's the bit down the bottom that's the key. I'll just zoom in. I can't get across there. If I unlock my taskbar, there we go. Can I move that down? How do you get this to go down? I can't. Okay, here we go. Oh, sorry, trying to get it to go across. Anyone? Can someone tell me how to do this?
I thought what you did was going to do it, but by unlocking the taskbar, it's supposed to go down.
Scroll
That's
bar.
what I was going to say. Move your taskbar.
So unlock that, and then taskbar settings.
Yeah. If you just want to show the bottom,
There we go.
just move the bar.
Yep.
Move the bar
That's
on
right.
the bottom.
Yep, I can do it now. I couldn't see that. It was underneath. Okay, there we go. So you can see areas cleared by dog teams 11605 and they're 11,705. When you look at the people that signed in, you can see that the same people that were involved in that group did actually sign in on the 7th. So they're definitely hiding that report. So, as I said, I'm trying to follow it up with Kathleen Zellner to see if they've got the 32-page report and how I go about getting it, because they've told me it is just a 2-page report. So I'm not quite sure where to go with that. I guess I present the evidence that it's not just a 2-page report and see how I go from there. So that will be an interesting one to follow up. And where to from here? The different dog groups. Okay.
So we're missing 30 pages.
Yeah. Yep. And as we went over it last night, they actually went into the gravel pit over near the trailers, near Hugh, and basically at the bottom of the bushland, below the deer camp, south of the deer camp. There's a whole lot of trailers in the gravel pit, in Redant's gravel pit there, and they were just near there. And Agent Zhang, is it Agent Zhang? I think so.
Yeah.
From the crime lab, he came and got the cadaver dogs and got them to come and check that out. And they said, it needs to be checked again in the light of day. They did alert on it, and that's most likely what they checked the next day. But it would be fascinating to know what else they did on the 7th.
Oh, yes.
Given that's what, like, the 7th remains quite the day. So these are the different dogs that were on scene. So we've got, I'm not sure, I can make this bigger, but probably doesn't really matter what the names are. But so everything that's blue is the GLSAR, and I had to go into a purple because there were too many of them. Then Midwest Canine, they operated under GLSAR, and they were just there for one day, actually quite a short time. Then Canine Search and Rescue, they operated under Michelle Metzner. The mutual aid teams here, they were the two that I spoke about before, and they were there on the 6th and the 7th. Sorry, I'll go over when they were there in a moment. And then the scent dogs were Loof, Raz and Polly, and they were under Sarah Fausk and Jodie Disher. And that's that one. Because I'm really hoping this is, nope, it's not. I'll find this one again. Remember the one I lost yesterday? I thought I'd got it out again.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yep, here it is. Great. This is who was where when. On November the 5th, we had just GLSAR. On the 6th, we had GLSAR and then Midwest with them, and then Canine Search and Rescue came in. All of blue, green and red are cadaver dogs, and grey as well. So everything to... Actually, let me go the other way around. Only yellow is scent dogs.
So they have a missing person, and they bring in cadaver dogs instead of trying to track her scent. And the thing that really bothers me is that they remove the RAV4 from the properties, and then bring the scent dogs dog, and then they ask if she can trace the RAV. The car's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's removed because they didn't want scent dogs there. Because what if it doesn't hit on the RAV for her scent? She drives that car every day.
Whoops.
Her skin shows to be all over it. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. I purposefully made that. I purposefully made that very small so that you can get a sense of how little those scent dogs were involved compared to cadaver dogs, and when they were brought in compared to the cadaver dogs.
Seems like everything in this case they do backwards.
Yeah.
Or don't do things at all.
Yeah.
Standard protocol went out the window.
So on the 9th, that's when they found the bones. Well, interestingly, we actually just found Eisenberg's report just before we went live, and it actually does say the 8th. But there is nothing in the I've just lost the word, Millbilly. The
Mandatory reports or anything.
dispatch, the transmissions, that's the word, that indicates that anything was found on the 8th.
If there were bones allegedly found on the 8th, when Stephen Avery goes with Barb Tadich and is stopped at the checkpoint on Jambo Creek, trying to retrieve some keys, why didn't they arrest him right there? Again, they find bones and they arrest him on the 9th for a gun charge. They mention bones one time, and then from there on, they talk about a body. The dogs took us to where the body was. The dogs took us to where the plates were.
But guys, don't forget, what did Dr. Bennett observe then on the 8th?
He didn't. He got them on the 9th. They were delivered on the 9th. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they were delivered on the 9th. I can pull it up. I was actually reading it just before.
Wow.
And if you recall that phone call when they expand the crime scene by 2 miles, he says, "We found bones." She says, "Oh, yes, I'm aware you guys found bones." She said, "No, we're finding more. We're going to have to expand this crime scene by 2 miles. We're going to need about 40 Wisconsin State Patrols out here tomorrow because it's getting late." And if you look at the sign-in, sign-out sheets for the 10th, count how many Wisconsin State Patrol officers show up between 4:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. And if they had found them bones the day before, like they state, they would have been doing all that on the 9th and not the 10th.
Yeah.
Right. So
just like Cuff Road, it's discovered on the 10th, but they don't bring everybody in there to the day after.
Right.
Can you see my screen there, Dr. Silkman?
Yeah, I can.
Yep. So just underlined in purple is the sealed box was left on November the 9th. But then on the next page, and that's what confused me because I went, I thought it was the 8th. And then this is when Eisenberg comes back on the 10th.
On the 10th, correct.
Oh, sorry. It did say back here that Dr. Bennett was asked to look at it on the 9th. He looked at it on the 9th and wrote his report on the 10th, is my understanding. Then it says when she arrived at her office on the 10th, with the box was a handwritten note on 2 sides of a yellow lined sheet from Special Agent Freymiller with background on the November 8, 2005 discovery. The box was labelled as contents sifted from burn pit near Steve's residence / garage, 11805 JRE, and that's John Urschel.
And on 11/9, Greg Shetter, that's when they finally page a coroner to come on scene.
But
And
can I notice there, does anyone know this? And I was going to ask this before we got live, I just forgot. It actually says there that it was referenced on the Department of Justice property receipt dated the 9th of November. Is that usual that there might be a discrepancy between the date of finding and the date of... Okay, I know in this case there are often discrepancies, but
Sure are.
I'm not kind of asking that question. I guess I'm asking, could that actually be an error? Like, does anyone remember, and feel free to write in the chat if you know, is there anywhere else that we've seen the 8th?
I thought the 8th was in when they filed the charges against Stephen the first time round. I thought there was a blurb in there that talked about Dr. Bennett and mentioned the 8th of November.
Right.
That's where I saw the 8th.
Ah, okay.
They also
And
had
if Dr.
search warrants signed prior to them serving them on the 9th, and they never issued them.
Okay.
Right.
Why? It's like, nope, we got to plant one more thing.
Yeah. Yeah, my understanding, guys, was that Dr. Bennett saw them first, then they'll put in the box, and then they'll give them to Dr. Eisenberg, who didn't see them until the 10th.
And remember,
Just to her office.
some of the news stations were starting to criticize the investigation that was going on. And that,
Right.
man, it's just
Okay, that's interesting.
tragedy. It's like they realized that, okay, we didn't plant enough evidence, so we're going to have to plant some more. Or find something to keep Stephen locked up longer so they can do that. They try going after Marie, trying to get her to say something so they can lock him back up. That doesn't work. They then go to Jody. Jody doesn't flip. So they go to Brendan Dassey, their last fucking hope, because Stephen Avery is about to make bail. First step was getting him to stop his lawsuit.
Right.
He should have never stopped it. That was his first mistake.
There were a bunch of interviews that they really went, because wasn't there an interview with Bobby and with Blaine also around the time that they interviewed Brendan as well? That was recently released. I think it's on your channel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Around that same time. So they were trying to get they were desperate. They were desperate to stop that bail from coming through.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kraft even tried to stop.
And at the end of the day,
he tried stopping Dean from becoming his lawyer.
Yeah.
He tried everything.
Right.
Just like when they interrogate Stephen on the 9th, when they got him in the interrogation room, they don't have that warrant signed yet. That's why they're delaying. Bridge Stephen starts bringing up Tammy Weber and all that stuff, the cops plant and everything. They leave the room.
Planting.
The first thing, they step in the room, the first thing Fassbender says, we got the warrant. You want to see it? You still want to talk to us? And then they get to grill him.
Yep, everything
Crazy.
turned hostile. Everything turned hostile. The moment he mentioned Planting and Tammy Weber, those guys came back in and boom, that's when they hit him.
Yeah, I can't imagine they were terribly impressed.
No, and that's where Fassbender mentions to Stephen that they knew where the RAV4 came from.
And you also got to
You even mentioned the dog tracks.
You got to
mention the dog tracks.
Well, that's the only evidence they had.
What does Stephen Avery respond to in that interview when they say they found a bloody handprint? He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yes. They threw all sorts of lies to him. And they even said, "What's Teresa's blood doing in your trailer?"
And what does he say right before they exit the room? I don't blame you guys. Manitowoc planted everything. You're finding it. You guys are just doing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, how unfortunate, right?
Little did he know they were all in on it. You got to think it was the talk of the town for the whole justice system.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you got people coming out of the woodwork just offering, "Oh, I worked on Stephen Avery's case back then. I got some dirt on him. Can I help?" "Oh, sure, come right in."
Yeah.
Why is Deb Strauss telling somebody that
Right.
she interviewed that she's a Calumet County officer?
That was so dodgy.
Somebody calls a dispatch saying, "Yes, I wanted to speak to Deb, investigator Deb." Like, we don't have anybody that works here. Okay.
Yeah, that was incredibly dodgy.
I don't put that together.
All this dispatch, everything I always talk about is all on my channel. The only thing I haven't put out yet is the radio transmissions for Calumet. I'm still listening through them all. Trying to find that stuff for your cell phone video, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was they were and that one they were you said that they were putting out GPS coordinates that they got.
Yeah,
Can't wait to find that.
They were,
because the only way
We listened
you were
to
right.
it.
you
You
can
were
get
right there
GPS coordinates.
listening to me with me. They were.
Kate, Millbilly, and I were listening to it the first night.
Dispatcher would call the officer that was going to the area. They'd get to that area. Okay, you're at the GPS location. Yes. Okay, describe what you're looking at. And then the dispatcher is looking at a topography map that they have on their computer, and they're trying to correlate things, see what the area looks like.
Do you remember that phone call that was talking about?
There's 19,037 files, and it's somewhere in those.
And both of us have looked where we thought it was, and it's not there.
If I was smart, I would have started on day one, but I quickly jumped.
Yeah, but we were pretty eager.
I was so curious to what happened on the 7th.
So excited. Do you remember that phone call about Teresa? Someone said, she was arrested for being drunk, or like there was some reference to her.
No, there was altercation.
What was it?
The night she's reported missing by her mother at 2:37 p.m., not 5 p.m. I think it's an officer from Brilliant is calling dispatch to inquire what's going on, and then she tells her what's going on, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds like somebody like reference an incident that happened the weekend. Could have been Friday, Saturday."
Yeah, because it was that location. I remember that call had just somehow come out, and we had all gone, "Oh my goodness!" And that was the town that they were doing lots of the "Where's the cell tower from?" And we were like, "Wow, maybe it's connected." And then we've never found the calls again. So, we're good at this, Millbilly.
Yeah,
it's a lot of info to take in.
Well, I can tell you that for that generation of cellular, the only way you're going to get a GPS that's going to be that you can get access to days and days later is if she was under active surveillance, because that's not information that is stored long term. So I would love to know where they got that information from. Or she either dialed 911 or she was on active surveillance.
What do you mean?
That's the only way you're going to get GPS out of it.
Right.
Sorry?
Answer to that question, I will find out as soon as I'm done with this. It won't be hard.
What do you mean about GPS? They were looking for the cell towers and where the locations of the cell towers were.
Yep. And one of the towers went down during a big windstorm. That's why they
weren't looking for where she was. They were looking for where the cell towers were located so that they could reference where she'd been using the cell towers.
Yeah, they're trying to track her route where she may have drove.
Yeah, using the cell towers. For some reason, you know how now we've got that list of like where the cell towers are and stuff? I don't know why they couldn't access that at the time, but they seemed to not be able to access that.
Well, it's like on the morning of the 5th, Remacher is inquiring about the cell phone records and stuff, and Uyghur says Diedering's got them. And the night of the 3rd, Diedering is getting in contact with the phone company, trying to obtain her actual phone records, not what the shit Ryan gave him.
Right.
Question is, why are they lying about
Right.
time reported missing? Why lie about something like that?
Even back at even back at that time, you had the ability to georeference points on a map. That's been around for a long time. So it's actually quite strange that, given the GPS coordinates that they had from the Singular Wireless report, that they actually had to go out and lay eyes on the cell tower. I'm not sure why they would have to do that, because you actually, from a cellular planning perspective, it's much better to be looking down on like a topographical map to be able to determine what the possible coverage areas are for any cell towers. But why would you go? That's the stupidest thing you can do, is go there and look at it.
Talking about GPS, if you listen to the Calumet dispatch, they're having problems because one of the cell towers went down because of the windstorm, and their GPS unit they use to mark where they are, the time's off, so they can't use it. So they start using 911 to radio in locations where they are with cell phone. They call 911. They say, "Okay, you are here," and they'd write it down.
Cheapest.
Like, why is Pagel asking for a dispatcher to? He says doesn't ask for a dispatcher. He says, "I need anybody you can find to follow this evidence to the crime lab. I don't care who it is." She says, "I'll do it." He says, "Okay. Be at the salvage yard." And that's when they're removing the skidster and the golf cart. And then Pagel radios in. They're asking him what they should do with those items they just seized. Should we put them with the other vehicles? Oh, no. They should not be together.
Separate.
They shouldn't be together.
Separate.
And then right before that, he talks about ordering storage containers. They'll be here tomorrow. So were they together? Is that the reason why they didn't put the camera on the garage until later? Jeremy Hawkins is stationed to sit at
because they were together
and babysit the evidence. And what does he do later on in the week? Leaves with the evidence keys when he's strictly told, make sure you don't take those when you leave. Make sure you put them back. What does he call? Calls dispatch. Oops, guess what I did? You'll never believe this. Where are you right now? Oh, I'm at Manitowoc's evidence.
Idiot.
Did he take the keys so nobody could get in there so they couldn't see something missing?
Or added?
I mean, the dispatchers are frantic. They're calling everywhere. We can't find the keys. Where are the keys? Anybody know where the keys are? There's just so many things that happen. And like for instance, Manitowoc transmissions, only thing you hear on the 9th is they find a bracelet in the burn pit. You hear Colburn requesting to call the fire chief. One time I hear them find anything reference bones at all is in the November 9th transmissions and the November 9th dispatch. And the other time I hear them say it when it comes right out Uyghur's mouth.
Can I just clarify? Ness was somehow she got dropped off.
But I'm here.
Oh, she's
Again.
still there. Woohoo! Can we just say a big thank you to Ness, because I think she probably needs to get some rest now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for sharing your expertise with us. And
anytime she's coming back on again, okay?
And you have to get better.
Anytime.
Thank you.
We're all sending you our best wishes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you have to get better from the multitude of things you've got.
Yeah.
It's never straightforward, is it?
I'm sorry?
It's never straightforward, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. I have so many medical problems. It's
But
one
what do you have
complicating
to
the other.
wear? What do you have to wear when you get home, Ness? What is it? Sorry? What do you
I'm
wear
sorry.
on your feet?
Oh God. Shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
That would
hate
be a good
shoes.
start. It does prevent infections in the feet.
Yeah, with the
Whoa.
nail.
Oh,
Trim.
thank you very much, and I hope you get better. Really.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thanks, Ness.
thank you.
good luck
Thank you so
with your
much.
investigation and anytime I can help. So
Thank you.
have a good
Cheers.
night, everyone. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you. See you later.
Later.
Thought we'd let her go to sleep. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yep. I appreciate everything she
Yeah.
did. She didn't have to do that.
No, it
No,
was
that
very
was
generous
awesome.
of her. As I said to her, if she had been at home, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have asked her to do another interview. So it was lucky she was in hospital again. She's got a bit more
Yeah,
care.
real lucky.
Sorry, that sounded wrong. I just meant that when she goes home, she's got a family to care for, and even when she's sick, of course, what happens is that of course, we get more demands on us when we go home. So, she's still being having her meals cooked, etc., etc. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, on to what next?
okay, I've got on my list to zip through the start of the cadaver dog report and then to get through to, I think, the 8th.
Yep.
Correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So what I might do is actually bring up.
And is it ironic that they find all these bones on the one day that there's no dogs there at all?
No.
Hugely
shock.
ironic.
No.
Hugely ironic.
It's all part of the setup.
The dogs showed them where the bones were so they could take them and put them where they wanted them to be.
Right.
Maybe Bear told them they could take the day
Yeah,
off.
there was a question. There was a question earlier that we had answered during the earlier podcast with regard to, is it normal to have that many dogs there? Obviously not. I thought it was quite interesting.
No.
Bron, one of the documents, claimed that that the area was inundated with canine dogs.
Yeah, that was a quote
For
from
a dog handler to say
GLSAR.
that.
Yeah, there were at least 8 cadaver dogs. 8.
Mm.
We mostly only hear about Brutus.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Brutus was used the most, for sure. Absolutely. And like I explained, Brutus is the owner's dog. So that's probably
all
why.
all the questions I asked her, I got the answers I was looking for.
Oh, she answered correctly.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm.
So she gets full marks.
No, it's scary, bro.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's good.
Yep.
It makes me, yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually
It is. I think that the interesting answers to me were that it is possible to sort of mask the scene a little bit with some type of oil. I forget what kind she mentioned. You guys mentioned peat moss, and she said
Celery?
she heard that as well.
Yeah.
And
celery
also
oil.
the celery oil. That's right, and the potential, the alert that Brutus gave when
who's on
he
the
was in Stephen's bathroom.
Bushman. He's a dog handler.
Yes, he is.
He would know this stuff.
Right. He's going to know. Right.
And
the alert that was given in Stephen's bathroom. I don't recall.
Do we know?
What?
Do we know how much experience he had? I'm interested. I'm not presuming anything. I'm just asking.
I don't. He was head of the canines of Manitowoc Sheriff's Department.
kind of all we know, isn't it?
Yep, it's only what I've seen in newspaper clippings. Thanks.
But
Yeah.
the other way to stop the dogs is to put up crime scene tape, and that's exactly what they did.
Right.
That's all you had to do. Don't worry about masking anything. Just put crime
Right.
scene tape and prevent
Yeah,
the
that's
dogs from
right.
crossing it.
They probably sent
That's
them to
exactly
go
what they did.
They sent them to go
See?
eat hot dogs
Exactly.
with Link. I
What
want
was
to
that?
know. They sent them to go. They sent them to go eat hot dogs with Link.
You're right.
He radios. Can I come back to the location? No, stay put. Wait for an investigator. There's hot dogs at the command post.
That's right. Oh God, that was funny.
That's some hot dogs in Link.
He wanted to be there, in on the action, and they told him to go and eat hot dogs.
The question is, Link and Colburn are with Tyson searching bar beyond his master bedroom. They're then notified to go to Cuss Road.
Yep.
Why did Link and them get separated? They're arriving together. They leave together, but at some point they're not together during the 7th. Colburn is definitely on Cuss Road. He's dispatching everything besides Bushman or Shedder.
Hey, I wonder if that's maybe what the scent dogs were tracking, was the hot dogs.
And then you hear Bushman say,
Hot dogs.
you hear Bushman say early in the audio of that day, it's not timestamped, so it's kind of a guessing game. Like I say, queso's the key to the Manitowoc's puzzle. You hear them say that, okay, there's a car sitting on Cuss Road. I don't know who's in it. And then you hear in the transmissions for the 7th from Calumet, there's an officer stationed at the cul-de-sac. They're telling them, we got search teams coming out the woods south of you. You should see them come out. We have a water truck coming to you. I want you, when the teams get there, I want you to stay there. We got water coming. Shortly later, they tell all the teams to regroup, stay with your team leaders, stop searching. And if you look at the maps, they have all the maps marked out where all the search dogs were that we have. They also have the teams labeled in the field. You hear them on the transmission saying that, okay, don't start searching. Wait for this person to get there. I want you to do this in 2 teams, 1 on each side. Don't start without them. So obviously they brought Loof, and she did her thing. They told her to come back. They then had officers walk that to delay them because they were walking the whole field. They remove everything. They call Loof back and the cadaver dogs, and there's nothing there.
Of course there's not.
But that's exactly why you bring the dogs back in, to see if you, in actual fact, have sanitized the scene. You've removed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I asked a lot of questions, but that's because I can't find answers.
Oh, was that why?
A whole lot of whys. Why do I keep asking why so many times? Nothing makes sense.
At least we're getting a bit more information now. We are starting to get quite a lot more through.
The more info we get, it more clarifies what I've been thinking. I mean, my very first video I ever did was a theory video, and I've swayed away from that. My opinion don't mean nothing. I'm just focused on the discrepancies and the things that I don't see that make any sense whatsoever. People have asked me to do a theory video again,
Well,
but
there's a lot of those.
I'm more law enforcement,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
So I am going to. What's my report shortcut? Scent dogs report. That's what it's not quite one.
I can hear you scrolling, Bron.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, So I was just going to, I'll bring up each of the scent dog tracks one by one, and then overlay the cadaver dog hits over the top, because I can now do that. So we'll see how lucky we get with being able to do that. Should be able to do it. Let's see how we go, hey?
That's funny.
Do you dare me? All right. Okay.
There was a comment
There's
in the
track
chat. Well, it's taking you some time.
Pardon?
No, she's got it up.
Okay.
I've got it up. Yep.
There was. Okay. Yeah.
No, if there are questions, please ask them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Let me read the question. Was from. It scrolled away a little bit, but I'm not sure it was a question or a comment from Justin Lemke that Brutus was the only one with the qualifications to be reliable in court. I'm not sure that that's true, right? Those
No.
Great Lakes Search and Rescue trains dogs. Every single one of the dogs
No,
from
I
that
think
has
he was, I
undergone
think he was alluding
extensive
to.
training.
I think he was alluding to that Brutus was the only one you could trust in a court.
Oh,
Well, ask,
yeah. Everyone else
we
is a
can
big
ask
fat liar.
Jeff who gave it, which dog gave evidence in court.
That's right.
That's what Jeff asked last night.
Oh, right.
That's right. Which of the dogs testify?
That's what you asked last night, wasn't it?
But Brutus, I did. I was trying to be funny, but like you pointed out, it was Brutus was the owner's dog. So I wonder if it was more related to the fact that the owner had expert. In order to be an expert witness, you have to have certain credentials, and I wonder if the owner relied on Brutus's testimony because it was just because that was their dog, and they were qualified to testify in court.
I think it will be much more likely that Brutus did most of the cadaver dog work. And so if you're going to pick any of the dogs, and if you're going to pick one dog handler, you're going to pick the handler that was with the dog that did the most work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you've also got the handler that oversees the entire organisation. So if you want to ask any questions about how the dogs are trained, she can answer them. She was receiving all of the pages. So whenever they were paged in the morning, she received them. When they communicated with someone from the agency, it was with her. So she was their point of contact. So I suspect it was actually more about her than it was about the dogs. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I suspect it was about her capacity.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, but Pagos strictly says the dogs are going to get tired, not the people. The dogs.
The dogs.
And of course, we know that he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, these dogs ain't doing what we want, so we're going to bring some other dogs in too.
And when was that? Do you remember that?
The 5th, the same day they're on the property.
Yeah.
They hadn't even been there, 4 or 5 hours?
Mm.
Not even that?
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
They did allude in the report that the worsening weather on the 5th did make it more difficult for the dogs to be able to do their jobs.
Yes. And it would have. It really would have. Yeah. I'm just pulling these up so they can be looked at one by one. And we can identify them. So I've got 5 is what colour? Green. I can even see it now.
Dr. Silkman, there's a a question on there that says on the current map on the screen in the upper right-hand corner, is that Michael's quarry, I guess, where item BZ was found?
Is up here.
Yes. The answer to that is yes.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't have a colour or something. Oh, I don't have anything. I'm not drawing on that map. Don't actually want to draw on that layer. I can draw it in a minute. But I actually, believe it or not, don't want to draw on these maps. It's not like I've spent forever doing them.
Mm-hmm.
6 is blue.
I thought like item AN or AM was the quarry.
Can you finish that? Sorry?
Item BZ was found in Michael's quarry or in the burn pit?
No, Michael's Quarry.
Michael's Quarry, but
No,
it's not
BZ,
actually
Michael's Quarry.
listed very many places.
Nope.
Kind of hidden. And the dogs had already cleared the scene.
If anybody's listening and doesn't know what item BZ is, that's the bone
BZ,
that
if
had
you're from
just
Australia.
enough tissue on it. Yeah, BZ, that just enough material on it to have the partial DNA sample. Everything else was burned down to nothing, but they just managed to find this one bone, and not even in the burn pit, in that quarry area, or the top right of that map, that had enough material on it to do a partial DNA extraction.
What the hell's item BZ doing there?
And why was it there after the dogs had already cleared the scene?
But they did find.
That means it wasn't there before.
Yeah, well, they did find tissue and blood over there, but the analysis
then they
proved that
cleared
it
it.
wasn't human. It wasn't
Question
human.
is, what's in them 30 pages you didn't get?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, fair enough. Yep, because that was a different organisation. Yep. Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll let you have that one, Millbilly, because I'm very kind. You're right. Yep. Okay, let's go with the scent dogs. So the first track was going from Teresa's car. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And sorry, I will go backwards every single time I try to zoom in because it's just the way I scroll my mouse wheel.
All right, we got an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, so basically, well, you can see where it went. This is where, so the area here is, actually I can be really clever and pull up an extra layer on top of that. And I can draw on that. So, anyone can say
So
colour.
this is the track of a scent dog we're looking at, Brian?
Yeah, this is scent dog. So, like I said last night, if you can see a track or a trail or a line on a map, that's a scent dog. If you can just see a mark or a number, that's going to be a cadaver dog because they don't leave a track. So we're going to go for black because I didn't use black on anything. So this is the area here, just there, that had the 3 deer stands.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? There's down here is whose house?
William Siebert.
Siebert, the one that saw the ute.
Yep.
Coming
His
back
daughter.
in.
His daughter also calls in because she was seen vehicles driving in the quarry, and they want to know if it was police officers. But I'm pretty sure you'd be able to tell if it was a cop car or not.
Yeah, you think so? Okay. So let's go. If someone wants to let me know, would it be helpful if I leave the tracks up as we go?
I think
Right.
so.
I'll just build on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next track was, and I'm going to zoom it out now just so you can get a sense of where they are. So the first time Loof was started at where Teresa's car was found down there.
Right.
The second
Yep.
time Loof was started where Teresa was selling the van. Sorry, where she was photographing the van that Stephen was selling. So that's why it starts at a very different spot there. So this one, the dog went to the garage, to the... Actually, I'm not so sure the dog didn't go to... Did it go to
It went
Stephen's
from
car? Yes, the
went
black F-350.
van, F-150, garage, trailer, round side, burn barrel, berm. In between
And-
the trees.
And, of course, this is the track that got stopped here.
Yes.
So that's the one where the crime tape was...
Yeah.
I think...
Road.
So,
At Cuss Road.
yeah.
That's
So
right.
Cuss Road, they were
Yes.
stopped. And that was when... So Pagel was contacted at that point, and he said, no, we're not allowing any access. So it was kind of that simple.
Remember, don't let nobody in.
And you'll notice here, it goes track 1 to track 3. There was actually a second track. And what they did was they went up, and I can't draw it, but it was up in about here. I actually meant to get a bigger map. They went to where someone had observed some, was it crows or something, flying around? Yeah, a bunch of crows were flying in circles, and they wanted to see if Teresa's scent was there. And it was negative for Teresa's scent. So that's why there's no map for track 2. Track 4.
So Bron, I guess that was something that wasn't clear to me before. Was that in order to have been elevated to the stature of being included in this in this report document, it had to have been a track that the handler indicated that the scent dog was somehow at least somewhat interested or aggressively interested. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been in the report in the first place.
If the scent dog doesn't pick up the scent, they'll give a negative indication. So there's, so of course, there's always a possibility that a scent dog won't pick up a scent. Otherwise, you would never know. And that's what, so Leaf kind of just looked at the handler. That's, I'll actually read you how she can tell, because she actually described it quite well, I thought. Loof circled several times, then indicated by looking back at me that the scent of Teresa Hallback was not present. There's an article I can put on, I'll put in the description of Millbilly's channel, which actually describes that behaviour quite well. Oh, it might have been in that video. Was it in that video we were watching? Or it's in the article that accompanied that video about how the dogs actually do a circle to find the source of the scent?
Yeah, they circle back to find the strongest source to try to get.
It was in that video we watched yesterday, I think.
Yes.
Yep. So we can put that link in the description afterwards, because that explained it really well, I thought. Track 4 is purple, and why is it off screen? That's exciting. It's just not there. That's not very exciting at all, actually. Let's go and find it. There it is. There we go. Okay, So an hour after God, I just called Sarah Teresa. An hour after Sarah was stopped with Loof, they walked down. This is when Pagel asks, I'll just read it because it's DCI agents and Sheriff Pagel asked if Canine Loof would be able to pick up Teresa Holback's scent if it were in a vehicle. Doesn't say if it were in her vehicle, if it were in a vehicle. I stated that I have done it on several occasions and said I have confidence that we would be able to if the scent was there. They wanted me to start further south of the cul-de-sac that was taped off and see where it took us. We walked further south on the gravel road, which was towards Deer Camp, so walking down the driveway in a sense. I pre-scented Canine Loof and did a perimeter scent inventory. And Millbilly, do you want to just say where the key points were? You can summarise it quickly.
I'll say it again.
It's okay, I can. So Loof went to Burning Barrel and the garage.
Yeah, he went from the Burning Barrel. He then went to the F-150. Then went to
the next one.
Oh, the next one?
Track
four.
four.
Okay, yeah, you got to zoom in a little bit.
So it was Burning Barrel, then the garage, then walked north along, basically did a circle around the whole deer camp, and then went down by the road that goes along the gravel pit. If anyone remembers the photos that came out, the several thousand of them, there was a car that was driving along that road and then went down into the gravel pit. It's that road right along the edge of the bush there, and then joined up with the conveyor road, and then did this little loop down in this area here. And then, so this was the loop where Loof appeared to kind of lose the scent, and so went back on herself. Then actually went back on the same track here, past exactly the same deer stands, went through the same water, which I think is that one. I think I've mucked up the track a little bit there. And then was starting to go back up that berm when they asked them to stop. And so they went back to the area of the cul-de-sac. So that was that. Next one is track 5. This one is where Sarah Fask wants to know what would happen. Oh, no, that's right. To see if she would indicate on a possible grave site. DCI agents and Sheriff Pagel asked if Canine Loof would be able to rerun track 3. I stated that we would try. So it's now 3:45. So Loof was stopped at 1:30 and we're now 2.25 hours after. And Sarah points out she's just done this major track here. But this paragraph I think is quite interesting. I stated that we would try, but since we ran it last, it was highly contaminated and there were 20 plus people standing around. Not to mention that Canine Loof just ran a long track. I stated that we would do our best, though. I think that paragraph, to me, adds a lot of weight to the fact that she was pretty above board, which is interesting because I had wondered about her, given her relationship with other people in the case as well. So, yeah. But I think she probably was actually there for the right reasons. Mind you, I'm not sure about her signing in for the days after. She actually signed in every day after Loof had finished working. I guess they needed everyone on board, but still.
Right.
So basically, yeah, did that loop there. They started partway across. I'm guessing it was to reduce the time. This was very much, Loof was not interested at all. I returned and spoke to Sheriff Pagel and DCI agents, explaining that Canine Loof did not like the smell of the area. but that she made no indications one way or another as to whether it carried Teresa Hallback's scent. Yeah, she
Do we know
looked
whether
at,
Ted Kratz have been in that area?
Yeah, I think so. And possibly some other people too, I think. Well, it was contaminated.
They didn't need a drug dog, Jeff. They didn't need the drug dog.
Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a good one. Okay, and now I'm pretty sure we're on to the next day now. Yep, we're on to the 8th now. So this one is the longest track. This is one of the tracks that I think is really important.
Oh, okay.
And I want to actually bring up the original map for this one, because when I was drawing it yesterday, I saw something that I had not seen previously. Is anyone seeing these tracks for the first time? Can someone read the comments, please?
Yeah, I'm reading them.
Can anyone who's seeing them for the first time, please? I know that people haven't seen them in colour and quite as differentiated as this.
Yeah, most people have probably just seen the Zellner's, what she entered into evidence.
And then what we got last year, probably. Yeah. Okay. All right. So,
like I said, a lot of this is new to me.
Yeah. Okay. So
Zellner's got essentially the same thing, but not as detailed as this, Bron. She's got maps drawn out with little dots, yellow dots in Mam-2.
Yep.
But this
that was
really
actually
good.
Mam-2 that did that, not Zellner.
Mam-2. Yeah.
You mean my favourite little GIF that puts Holly to sleep? Yep. Holly made me put it in my channel so that she can go to sleep with it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I know. It's beautiful, isn't it? So this one was the perimeter scent inventory was done just before the van. So Loof went to the van and then to the garage. She went to the service door and then the overhead door. And this is one of those ones where attempted to go to the backyard, but, was stopped by the German Shepherd.
Right.
Hit on the white south door of the trailer, continued to walk around the house, and they go on and on and on about the German Shepherd. Now, they are not the first people to request that bear is taken off the property. And I've certainly read articles that say it's the first thing that should happen is any domestic animal should be taken, should not be present when the search and rescue dogs come through. So then you've got, so in this one, you'll see that Loof actually works the other side of these bushes, which is interesting. She actually works here. And in one of the other, I might be giving away the next one. One of these, she's actually looking out towards the gravel pits, and I wondered whether it was because there was a scent that was here. Anyway, she goes around here, does a little loop around I think this has moved a little bit, maybe, because I know it wasn't, the loop was more around the deer camp, but it actually said, again, this is something I only noticed yesterday. Canine Loof worked this, I'll just read a little bit before that. Canine Loof entered the cul-de-sac and continued to work southwest on the gravel access road. That is down the driveway here. So that's coming down this way. On the gravel access road, coming out by the hunting trailers. Canine Loof worked this area with interest, especially on the gravel pit side. So that's coming out to here now. A large cat litter pail was located within this area of interest. Canine Loof worked down into the quarry going northeast, indicating on a body of water by going into the water 2 times. That's that bit there. Canine Loof exited the water and immediately worked east up to a berm dividing the Avery property and the quarry. Everything we had seen about the berm, my understanding was that it was actually right up near Stevens. But what this shows, if you have a look, it's actually level there with where the cars start, which is different to, just going to bring this one on too. So you can see it's actually this part here. Have you got a different map, Holly?
Oh, no, I'm behind. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I was wondering whether you were going to say to me, oh, yeah, that's in there. Okay, so basically, Luke's come up across here. All of the photos we see of where they're actually digging and that sort of thing in the most recent photos are all up around here. They're very much in this tight corner here near the blue pool. You can see the blue pool and the red of the of Stephen Avery's trailer. So it's kind of, if you have a look at the photos, it's very much in from halfway in his property up. But Loof came level with these cars here and then went down this way, down and up here. This is the berm that the scent dogs were alerting on. Yep. And the end of this report and the cadaver dog report both comment that the scent dogs and cadaver dogs were both alerting on the same area, and the officers had noted it. And they actually, I'll keep going with this and then I'll tell you what happens, which is why this one and the next one are such important maps. So tries to go into the yard but is scared of the German Shepherd. So instead goes around the edge. So he's going around the very top edge, and it's high on the outside of the fence, on the car yard side of the fence. Then goes down into the car yard, goes straight down, comes down towards the conveyor, the small branch of the conveyor, and then loses a scent, goes back, joins up with the conveyor road, and then where that conveyor, actually there's a Y, a very clear Y. I can bring this back on. It's much clearer on this. I'm sorry about the map, but we decided to do it on the map so that it was all on there. So it's actually here, there. Sorry, is that right spot? Yes. Where the conveyors join there. Then Loof goes down here, across, and back to the car, which is there. See that car's just a little bit low there, and that's where the RAV was. And the last one, before they do that last track, something really important happens that is often missed. I'm just going to find it again. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. So the last part of this track 6 says, at the command post, I stressed getting German Shepherd off the property and that the other hounds confirm what Canine Loof has done. The area of the berm was holding a lot of Teresa Horvath's scent. I also asked for wind directions since she had been missing, but that information was not available. So she was asking for information, but they weren't telling her, which was quite interesting. So we've got that information, but she didn't at the time, which was a shame. So this is now still the 8th. So that last track on that track 6 was at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you notice that she actually does have the temperature there and the wind now. She's got that in her report. So she obviously found that out afterwards. At the introduction to the next report, we've got, I explained that I wanted to run the area of track 3 again. That's the one where she was stopped at Cuss Road, and to also suggest calling in another hound to verify what Canine Loof has done. Sheriff Pagel agreed and advised for me to make those arrangements. I phoned Jodie Disher to see if she'd be able to assist. Jodie Disher arrived and ran her hounds. Jodie's hounds, Razzle and Polly, so Razzle is shortened to Raz, confirmed what Canine Loof had done. We don't know how many of those tracks those dogs did, but we know that at least some of them were confirmed. Jodie Disher rang Jerry Yelk, who he's died now, a well-known canine trainer,
Right.
who Jodie Disher had done all of her training with, and questioned why the dogs, including a cadaver dog, was getting hung up and all excited on the berm. Jerry Yelk suggested waiting until 4 to 4:30, remembering it gets dark at 4:45. That's I'm adding that. That's not in the report. And to run the track from the lowest point of interest. By that they mean the lowest point of altitude. Scent drops. Jerry stated that the scent will drop as the sun falls, and the barometric pressure was also falling. Our last track would be with Raz and Canine Loof running the track together. This typically causes a high amount of concentration and competition. So Canine Loof was pre-scented, Canine Loof was harnessed and given the scent from the tennis shoe. Now, I'd have to look back.
Oh, right.
But I know that, okay, here we go. Track 6 was tennis shoe. Right up to track 4 was the heel shoes. Track 5 was the heel shoes. Track 6 and 7 are the tennis shoes. That's really interesting. So the tennis shoes are red and blue tracks.
Right.
So the two that are very strong tracks, oh, sorry, you can't see where red ends. Red goes out.
That is interesting. Hey, Bron, there's a comment from Earl Phillips in the chat it's kind of an interesting comment. And he says, I don't think Teresa went everywhere those dogs tracked her, dead or alive. Mm-hmm. Ryan, on the other hand,
I don't either.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's not she couldn't have gone everywhere unless perhaps she was released in the yard and somebody tried to hunt her down. I mean, it's great. There's too much evidence there, right?
Okay. So the one thing that we know
it's suspicious that there's so many positive tracks.
So the one thing we know about scent is that it pools. So things that cause scent to pool is time, wind, rain, and foliage. So a scent will basically be, if you think of scent the same way you think of a gas, so, or even when you boil your kettle, at first it's kind of really obvious and it's coming up and then it disperses. That's what scent does too. That's the easiest way to kind of think about it. But if you think about scent can get washed towards the edges. Now, if you look at these maps, you can see particularly down here. Now, remember, there's a drop-off here, and you can see that, like, there's tracks down here. There's tracks on the road, and I might not have captured it quite correctly, and it's hard because their drawings aren't very accurate either. But it was interesting to me that they hugged the foliage. They hugged the sides exactly how I would expect. If something was being blown against an edge, that's exactly what you would expect. However, I question whether it's her scent that they're tracking. Sorry, I question whether it's Teresa that they're tracking. If they were given Teresa's scent, there are two options. They're either tracking Teresa's scent, or they're tracking a much, much, much stronger scent that has captured the interest. And that is possible. But I'd have to say, you know, with a well-trained dog, it would be reasonably unlikely. But, I mean, the tracks are everywhere, but it can happen that the dog can pick up like the freshest track, the most exciting track. And you've got to remember that there were, like, if you just think about the number, not even the number of people visiting the Avery Salvage Yard, but even if we just think of it as the number of footsteps, it would be astronomical in that area from the 5th onwards. There were 116 visits to Teresa Hallback's house between the 5th and the 12th. In the time that the Avery Salvage Yard was being investigated, there were 116 visits to Teresa's house.
That's huge.
And that's not counting. That's 116 times they were there. Not, you know, half that in and half that out. That's 116 times they were there.
So Bron, what scent do you think was being checked out with the red trail?
What do I think was being? Sorry, say that again.
What do you think was the source of the scent if it wasn't Teresa?
Teresa's scent could be being tracked, but not Teresa, and that would mean that it was contamination.
Okay.
Sorry, did I not make that quite clear? So, with 116 visits to her home, personally, if you ask me to make a call, I think it is far more likely that you have officers transferring scent from her home to this crime scene than her ex-boyfriend or her roommate that are there on 2 occasions or 3 occasions. Because you've got 116 times that people are there that we know of. And the only reason we know of them is because of the dispatch records, and we know they're not complete.
Right. So from the dog tracks that you've put up, which ones are you confident about that it's actually
what order?
Teresa?
None of them.
So
I've got no idea. Just like anyone else, I've got no idea. The order I would rank them in, if I take them all off, the order I would look at them in and rank them in priority would be 7, 6, and 1. In that order.
Right.
The reason being that 7 was run after talking to an expert about, so if I put them up in the order, so 7 was run after talking to an expert about what to do about number 6, which was getting the attention of multiple dogs. And they were advised as to how to manage that. And it was also 2 dogs running side by side where they felt that that was a good opportunity. They felt that that would give them a better result.
Right.
And then track 1, I think, because it was most likely the freshest.
Right.
That's the only. But there's a lot of overlap. If you look at, there's some areas that you can see get overlapped quite a lot, like along here, definitely. Now that's where the officers were walking backwards and forwards constantly. Here.
Yep.
Around here seems to get a little bit, and around her car. Don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I could answer it, but I'm not an expert. I don't know.
What do you think may potentially be in those 30 pages that they did not give you?
I think those cadaver dogs went somewhere else.
And possibly the burn pit.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe they didn't show sufficient interest where they should have, maybe.
Yeah. I'd love to know where they went. We know that the days that I'm about to get to in the cadaver dog reports, we know that they went to Mally's property up on Kew, which is up here.
Mm-hmm.
And historically, the cadaver dogs are brought back to places to recheck places.
Yep.
And I wonder whether GLSAR cadaver dogs were actually rechecking somewhere that other cadaver dogs had alerted.
I just find it very suspect that we got all these reports of vehicles matching her car description in multiple locations, but they only go to one of them. Or did they go to the other locations, and that's why we don't have the report?
Yeah.
Obviously, they followed up on the leads, and Manitowoc is the one that dispatched that search team to go to Twin Bridge Road.
Yep.
It seems like, well, I've said it. I'm like a broken record. I repeat myself too much now.
I was just going to try to find that one that I could bring up here. I don't know if I've got it handy. I'm not sure that I do. The one that I drew on. Did I put that in the channel? I think I probably did. Just to see.
And would those reports contain...
Can you just block my screen, please?
You think? What?
Can you block my screen, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
What was I saying now? I've only had 1 hour of sleep, y'all. I woke up Friday at like 11 a.m.
Oh, come on, Millbilly. Jeez.
And I went to sleep halfway through.
Oh, yeah. See, for you guys, welcome to my world last night.
It's like I'm listening to dispatch again. This is what I used to do. Stay up. I'd get off. I usually have Wednesdays off, so I get off work Tuesday night, stay up all day Wednesday, go to sleep Thursday morning, and then wake up, go to work, and then repeat.
You wondered why I was so vague by the end yesterday.
I'm glad I met all you Aussies. Otherwise, I'd have nobody to talk to.
Gee, thanks. Is that all we're good for? Is it? Thanks.
Just talking to.
Yeah.
Out
Okay, so here's okay, you can show my screen again now. I'll stop hiding it. So this is where the canine search and rescue went. These areas here. This is where they were clearing the scene. Here is the area of trailers that they investigated the blood on the 6th and then came back to on the 7th. That's what we were just talking about, that they came up to the RAV there. So you can see here the dark car, like a RAV, was seen there and was gone at night. We were talking about whether they may have only had that report by that time. We're not sure when reports were actually made, but you would expect that they would have taken other dogs to those locations, and they may have. But there was that report about the quarry. That's always really concerned me. That quarry that was out of town. Was it in Denmark, I think? The person driving fast on the Sunday morning.
Yep.
That's always really concerned me.
What about the car that's seen leaving the quarry?
Yeah, that one. That's the one.
Or the guy reporting that he heard 2 gunshots on Wednesday.
Right.
What about the lady calling to the dispatch saying that Teresa Hallbach's her friend? A number with all 9s calls.
That's right.
Here's her name twice. She hears a commotion in the background, and then the call went dead. She tells the dispatcher that. She says, well, you should call your phone company. She calls her phone company and calls right back to dispatch like, hey, yeah, I'm not getting no answers. You really need to look into this because I'm afraid. What if it was Teresa? But, of course, we don't know if they passed the info on or not because the dispatchers are cherry-picking what they pass on. Because when Sheila calls, the dispatcher pretends to take down her info, and then when she calls back, she tries to restate what she said, and she gets the info she gave to her wrong. So then she actually does write it down. It's just like when Leo R calls about somebody's knocking on his door. Uyghur is less than a half a mile from his house. Oh, just write it down. That's not the case.
It couldn't be less interesting.
Come to find out, Leo R's wife has connections with Uyghur. And it's pre-2005.
It's insane. It's insane. Okay, let me go to the cadaver dog alerts now. I'm just going to flip to the 5th. For anyone that wasn't on last night, I'll just quickly go through this. So they were paged 2 hours after the RAV was found, I should say. When they arrived, they brought with them 9 dogs. 4 of them were cadaver, 2 were scent dogs, and 3 were cadaver and scent dogs. And you'll find all of this information in the new report. Yep. And I'll put links to that in the description and try to get it on Reddit tonight. Tonight, my time, so it'll be there tomorrow. And you'll see that they took Brutus in at 3:30, so they arrived at 2:45, and they actually selected Brutus. Then later they took Trace, Lucy, Cody, and Riesling, not Riesling, which is what I said in my report. And they are all cadaver dogs, as I said earlier.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually selected them and chose not to select scent dogs. If the dogs are both scent and cadaver, in order to utilise that scent aspect, they would need to be provided with a scent source.
Correct.
So we know that there was no scent source provided to the dogs until the 7th. So they are only utilising the cadaver half of that dog. That sounded really bad. They're only utilising the training of the dog to find human remains. That sounded more logical.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first cadaver dog was Brutus, and Brutus alerted on the RAV. So went down via the crusher. checked out vehicles as he went down here, went west across here, and gave a head check and rushed to a green vehicle which was partly covered by a tarp. I'm reading from a summary I wrote, which is actually word for word from the report.
They said what? A what vehicle?
I think
A
it was
green vehicle.
They said a what
blue,
vehicle?
greeny, tealy, mystic, tealy coloured green. Green. Yep. So gave a head check and rushed to a green vehicle, partially covered by a blue tarp. He began to bark, which is his trained alert behaviour, indicating the presence of human decomposition. Holly, where will I find those? Is it in Mam-A-Thon? Those photos?
Yes, down in other.
Hang on.
Thank you,
So
Holly.
not in mine,
You're welcome.
not the folder that I
Not unless you
you to?
moved them over.
I
No,
did.
I didn't get a link.
I see. Okay. Just going to move this over here. Right. Right, I see.
Ugh.
Okay. Right. Just give me a sec and I'll find them.
We have Jerome here with us now. He's taking over
Hey.
next.
Hey,
Oh.
Jerome.
Hello, everybody. Hi. How are you doing?
Good.
How you doing?
We got a half hour to
Very
get.
good. Very good.
Can we do it?
Okay, here we go.
I was
So
watching.
there's the
Watching your show is really amazing. You made a really great job, I believe, and all of you made a really great job, Dr. Skillman, and all of you. You are really great. Really.
Thank you.
Aunt Mel really does an awesome job.
Thank you, Braun.
Not me. Okay, so that's where Brutus alerted first. The second alert was, I've got to try to find all of my different documents. Sorry, that was it spilling over. Okay, the second alert was, if I look on here, it's going to be much easier for me because it'll show me. Okay, down in the gravel pit. This one was actually one where the maps were incredibly helpful because it says at the southern edge of the gravel pit in the western corner that ran along a gravel conveyor. It doesn't run along a gravel conveyor. Like, here's the conveyor.
Yep.
There's the alert. And it's not at the southern edge of the gravel pit. So I couldn't work out why Kathleen Zellner had an alert there. But now we know that's where the alert was. So basically, Brutus he showed a lot of interest in that berm area there, which is, I did have a photo up here, which I don't have now.
I got a photo up, Ron, if you want to just.
There you go. So it showed a lot of interest here. Oh, you've got one?
Yeah, if you want to just try to. It's. I like the view because you get aspect everything. You can see the trailers. You can see the conveyor, where the conveyor road is, the berm, Huberts. It was very interesting to piece together the Jost connection on with those documents.
Yes, indeed it was.
Why is it in pencil?
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
Because you might need to erase it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Hopefully not, hooray. Hopefully not. I actually can't even see where you're putting things because my screen is just a bit busy over here.
It's back on your screen.
Okay, good. Number 3 alert. So they continued around the gravel pit, returned to the area of salvage yard, checked the pond area. So that was the pond area here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just got that up. So that pond area there.
Yep.
And then went back to the command post. Then that was when Lucy, Trace, Reesering, and Cody were sent to begin checking vehicles in the salvage yard. So that was all of these vehicles here. So it was just a general check. During this search, the four dog teams used the existing roads through the salvage yard to create grid patterns and did specific vehicle checks of each vehicle in their areas. So I'm guessing they pretty much divided that into 4. That would be my guess. 2 teams reported an alert in the same area. Both Canine Lucy and Canine Trace alerted in an area of the salvage yard along the gravel conveyor in the southwestern section of the yard. The area was north of the area of alert number 2. And interestingly, whether there's 1 dog or 2 dogs, you only ever see 1 alert number. Later on, and I'll go back and I'll add this to this map, later on I've actually added a second of the same number so that we can see that more than 1 dog actually alerted there. While both dogs alerted, no scent source was located at that time. That number 3 is, just for your reference, is actually around here. So it's just south of that kind of where the conveyor joins. Alert 4. Okay, so we've got Canine Brutus was reassigned to check various buildings and areas with investigators. And I've been forgetting to put up the good... I've got to find the photos. Not that one.
Go through them and at the end, go back over them if you find them.
Yep, they are. They're somewhere here. Yep, here they are. Okay. And they are pretty much in order here. Okay, here's alert. Okay, here we go. So this is that sort of area of alert 2 and 3 and 10. You can see the conveyor here. And then, so Brutus...
working conveyor, or is that just was there because they didn't bother to take it down?
There's 2 conveyors. One was active, the one that went on Conveyor Road. The one that goes where the area where CX was found, that one wasn't functioning. It actually went into the state. It connected to the same... I believe it connected to the other conveyor that goes into State Avery's property.
And it wasn't active any longer, was it?
No, not at the time. But they were still working in the quarry because on the morning of the 7th,
yeah,
like there's a quarry operation going on. And then
insane.
Pagel, the officer radios the command post. And Pagel's not at the command post because he chimes in from who knows where and says, oh, yes, we know about that. They were given permission to work between 6 and 10 a.m.
Insane. Insane. So this is still on the 5th. And we've now got Brutus is reassigned to check up. So he starts over here.
So I'm assuming Radak got permission to do that the night before because he doesn't sign into the property till after 6 p.m. or 6 a.m.
Oh, he must have. So that was the
6th. He had to get permission to be there.
And he made a statement on the 5th. So maybe he asked them. Or maybe they made an after hours call
Well, he was there every day. Him and Travis Kroll,
to their best helper.
or his brother.
So alert number 4, we're up to why? Oh, there it is. Alert number 4 was in. Okay, we first moved to the red mobile home identified as Stephen Avery's.
She wants to know where the location of where. Okay, if you see on this, the
Where
entrance.
what is? Oh,
How
are
the
you
car-
switching to yours?
How the car got into Avery's salvage yard. If you listen to Stephen Avery's interview, watch my mouse. They claim that it went through this field, on the cusp, through the deer camp, all the way down here on the conveyor road, in through the back lot, drove through here, parked right over here. But then they talked to Brendan Dassey, 4 months later, and he states that it went from the garage
Yeah, that's right.
past everybody's
Yeah, right.
house, right past Dolores's, right past the shop, right past Chuck's, right to the location. Why are they telling Stephen Avery a completely different story?
That's because they
Absolutely.
didn't know about Brendan Dassey.
So they basically say, yep, they basically say that the car goes along here, up here, like this. Basically.
Across the cornfield.
Sorry, from Stephen Avery's. Yep.
Yep.
So it does a big circle. But then Brendan stuffs it up. He gets it wrong, just by the way, because he forgot. And he said it went
That way.
this way.
Yep.
Which, to be honest, is much more direct. I mean...
Yep, but there's no dog tracks.
Well,
No.
he didn't know that. I mean, I think he gave it a good go, don't you? So he went this
Which
way.
is the complete opposite to what the
And if you read
investigators
the reports,
are telling Stephen.
what they say happened with Brutus on the 5th, they say that they were following the
Right.
dog, and the dog reports say that they were told where to start. Went to the crusher first, nothing. Then they went by her vehicle, hit. How many times they go back to the crusher?
3.
How many times they go back to Stephen Avery?
Several.
Once.
How many times them dogs went in the garage?
0.
Yeah, not at all.
They made a more indication of something at Chuck's house than they did at
I didn't see any. Right,
Better
because
luck
the
next time.
cadaver dog alerted from outside of Chuck's property, right?
And then if you guys are aware of the Derping House call, listen to the November 11th dispatch from Calumet County. It's not too long. You're going to hear some crazy things.
No, but it's really interesting. Yeah.
They talk about the coroner and handling a case that was in Outagamie, but they occurred in Calumet. I don't know. Gets the wheels turning in my head.
Yeah. Same for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
3 times coroner's call. One funeral home from Sheboygan calls Euchre,
Right.
asking because they're also asking for authorization for a cremation. Same thing with Outagamie County, calling about an authorization for a cremation for a death that occurred in Calumet, but they're processing it in Outagamie County. Makes you wonder why they shipped Carmen's body all the way to Milwaukee or Waukesha. Why not Green Bay? They got just about the same amount of. I mean, they got the Packers right there. They're going to have some of the best specialists there. I mean, how often does football players get injured at a football game? Every game, damn near.
A lot.
And some of them are
All the
severe,
time.
especially a lot of Packers. Jermichael Finley.
Why are they not a good team, or are they a good team, or am I walking on very thin ice here?
Nick Collins, neck injury. Jermichael Finley, neck injury. Look at
Very
Prince,
thin ice.
neck injury. Charlene Stark. They'd have been, I don't know, or even Milwaukee. They would have drove right past Milwaukee to get the walkie shot.
Well, I'm not sure why that's got so blurry, but anyway, that's probably a slightly better view. Okay, so alert 4. We first moved to the red mobile home identified as Stephen Avery's. We checked the interior of the residence. Canine Brutus checked the bedroom area with increased interest, but no alert. Apparently Stephen smelt. Interesting. Alert 4 was he alerted in the bathroom/laundry room with his trained bark alert. No scent source was visible at the time. So we talked about that earlier and concluded that it was likely Dr. Silkman. What was it? Likely?
Well, we thought it was
most
a drop
likely.
of blood on the ground.
What was it most likely? Toenail clippings or
Sorry. In his bed, in his bathroom, he had a shaver and also a toothbrush.
So it was likely toenail clippings, hair from his shaver, or skin cells from his toothbrush.
And he also had clippers and a little pair of scissors that would have cut toenails and stuff. So
could you see them in the bathroom photo?
I think so. I have to go back and have a look at it, but I know there was a shaver and there also was a toothbrush.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, I don't know if you guys who all listen to the jail calls, they're cleaning out Stephen Avery's trailer and they're cleaning out his fridge. And Dolores says, "You have an open can of Mountain Dew in here." That could have been a potential source of DNA right there. You hear Dolores say, I'm pouring it out.
Huh.
Brom, there's an actual better shot of the bathroom, the sink.
A much better shot. The good thing about this is it actually shows that it was a laundry, toilet, and bathroom shower. So it was actually a very multi-purpose space.
Mm-hmm.
Very. Yeah. What's this here? A dryer, would you think?
Yes, that's a dryer next to the washer.
Right, yeah. And
you got the shower, across from the shower.
Very much a multi-purpose space.
Next to the vanities, the toilet.
So, yeah, that's good to know too. Okay.
Very small area.
Yeah, very, very.
Multiple.
He had three rooms in one.
And that one room wasn't even usable, really. I mean, it had to be cleaned up. And Jody's friend was planning on being released soon and was going to move in. Just think if that lady would have been released a little sooner.
Oh, yeah, well, they sorted that, didn't they? So alert 5 is, so there was no other interest inside. They moved outside. We checked an area with 4 burn barrels. And I'll just pull that up now. So that's that photo. And Holly, was it you who said that Barb said she hadn't had a fire recently? Or has Holly gone to sleep? Hopefully she's muted, because that would be really embarrassing to go to sleep on a YouTube video. God, we think it's embarrassing in Discord.
Holly?
Discord's been some classics.
And note the undies are no longer on the handle of the shovel.
Oh, yeah.
Someone steals red undies.
It's
It's got to be Kratz.
How many
Classy. Oh, yeah.
It's got to be Kratz.
Ken Kratz has the red undies.
Yeah. And the intimate sample as well.
The morning of the 7th, they're requesting a dolly to move
On
barrels.
what?
On the morning of the 7th, they're requesting a dolly to move barrels.
Sorry, I had all sorts of other ideas of what you were talking about then.
Oh,
No
but
problem.
how many barrels are there, do you think? 3, 4?
Oh, I'm not getting into that. I am not getting into that. Mind you, we could look at this and say 1, 2, 3, and
3.
is that right?
4.
I see 3.
Oh,
Who in the back?
There, Holly? Or here?
Everybody's statements are different. Look at
They
Blaine
are.
Duffy's affidavit that he gave to Zellner. How many
Yeah.
does he say they have? 3.
3 in the front and 1 in the back there.
There, Holly?
yeah. Didn't Bobby Desi say there were 4?
And Blaine said 4.
Blaine, I think, yeah, somebody said 4.
And
Barb and
Blaine's the one
Stephen
who
said
likes
3.
fire. He's the pyro. I mean, he likes fire. I love fire too, so I'm actually with Blaine. Okay, alert 6 is we then moved east to, I'm going to go close and close, just so I don't have too many things open. Alert 6 is the maintenance shed, which is the old shed. So it's actually this one here. So it's this here. Then we've got, so Brutus alerted. So there was, they checked ATVs, diggers, front-end loaders and trailers, as well as building interiors. Canine Brutus alerted on some car parts in the maintenance building. And that's where the alert little arrow ended. And Canine, yep, go for it.
Say sharper than a pencil. You want to throw the link to Jerome's or just a link to the website so they can go to him next. We got 9 minutes.
Canine Brutus then alerted here on, that was on the golf cart, parked in a small garage, which was there. Dolores's, then went back to the command post and they all left. Next one was, oh, sorry, got that photo there. And we're up to the next day now. And I've got to delete that because that's blocking everything. Okay. Is there another alert coming up there? Oh, I see. Right. Okay. 8. Yep, 8. Okay. Good. Canine Brutus alerted on 2 vehicles that were parked. Oh, no, hang on. We had the... Okay, so Canine Lucy then showed the next day. Canine Lucy then went around all of these buildings too, so to double check them all, and showed interest in the breezeway between these two here, where the golf cart had been the day before. The golf cart was in the garage the day before, but we found a photo where the golf cart had been parked in that breezeway on a previous occasion. So wondering whether that might have been the source. Not sure. Brutus alerted on some vehicles here. Then as we exited the salvage yard, Brutus alerted. I'm going to drop this right down here. So delete some things here because otherwise we can't see it. Okay. Alerted on Charles Avery's. Here, is that right? Have I got the right spot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Charles Avery's.
That's Charles.
On the entrance to a mobile home along the gravel drive, identified as the home of Charles Avery. 2 dogs were dispatched to check vehicles parked in the fenced area west of the main salvage yard, which is this part here. That was all fenced in there. Both dogs cleared their area with specific vehicle checks, neither reporting any alerts. Canine Trace checked the exterior of Stephen Avery's residence and red van in driveway without alert. 4 dog teams were sent to check the gravel pit immediately south of the salvage yard. So that would be here. Redance, immediately south. Canine Lucy, Trace, Reesering and Simon set up a grid pattern to clear this area. Canine Lucy reported an alert in the same area that the dogs had alerted to in the previous day. So right near these ones. Again, it's the conveyor.
Yes.
And that's it for that one. Oh, that's right. And then they go off to an area of 2 ponds west of the salvage yard being searched by the Winnebago dive team. This is the west of the salvage yard here. Whether they mean in the gravel pit or whether they mean over at Mally's.
No, if you look at my screen, 2 ponds, top of the screen.
Yeah. The green one and a brownie one, is it?
Yep. It's south of the trailers. The grouping of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we've got 2 more alerts on this day. 11. That's right. In the Michael's Quarry. And Kovu alerted there first. And then it was rechecked by Canine Simon and Cody, and both showed interest, with Canine Cody alerting just north of that location. There is a map in evidence. It's a black and white map, and it has 2 blue dots here and here. And I think that's those alerts. So I just put across there to show it could be that. November the 7th.
Do we have any idea on that map where BZ was found? BZ?
No. No.
It can't be there. It can't be at Michael's Quarry. I mean, there was tissue and blood found there, but according to the CASO report, it didn't turn out to be human. Item BZ has, if you're following the narrative,
no,
from the burn pit.
Okay, there was actually there was actually different bone and tissue collected on the 12th from Michael's Quarry.
Yep. You see the map I have up, Braun, the black and white one. It's got A, B, C, D search teams, Jost's area, Michael's Quarry, Canine. They got all kinds of writing all over this map.
So I'm just going to pop these up, and I'm not sure why. Oh, yeah, there we go. They're not showing because they're actually wider. So this is where they're hitting on the all
right, Braun, we got 2 minutes, and it's over to Jerome.
Okay, so what I can do is I can actually put up all of the days here. So this is the 10th. Because there actually aren't many. So you've got 14 and you've got 15. But 12 over here, I don't know if you can actually make that out, actually came back and alerted on both the door and inside Charles's house.
Yep.
Which is pretty significant, actually.
And if you watch the beginning of this, if you joined in the middle, when we had the expert here, Braun asked these questions about that scenario.
This number 15 here, this is the concrete piles this is the concrete slabs where the several burn piles had been marked that Canine Brutus alerted on. That's the location, right down there. Make of it what you will. Here's the line across here of Manitowoc Quarry. This starts here and goes along here. It was actually a Manitowoc Quarry.
Yep.
Is that where the debris piles were found, located?
Do you mean the ones that we have all the photos of?
Yes.
No, because we have GPS tracking for all these items that are found in that area where she's referring to.
You're asking about that
That's
one?
That
Yeah.
is not where the Manitowoc County gravel quarry pit is. That's not. That's more
No.
closer to Stephen Avery's.
Correct. That there looks like a combine harvester behind a that's the, help me,
It could be a dump
straight
truck. Could be a dump
conveyor.
truck.
Oh, okay. Yep. And it looks like, to me, that looks like deer camp.
Because there's a
There's
photo.
the conveyor.
There's a photo of 2 dump trucks in the quarry that I've seen.
Is that what B&M is, by the way?
Most likely.
I didn't know what B&M stood for.
I think it's time to hand over to Jerome.
Great.
Yep.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the Mam-A-Thon. I know I'm going to stay up for all of it. So
Oh, you're a trooper.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Good to see
Ron.
everybody.
Two. Okay. Thanks, everyone.